In the early hours of October, a factory in rural Tennessee detonated with a force that flattened buildings and shattered a community. The blast was not an accident in a vacuum. It exposed gaps in oversight, safety, and the hidden risks of an industry that handles explosives every day. A manufacturing site that processed explosive materials erupted in a catastrophic explosion. The main production building was destroyed. Emergency responders arrived to a scene of twisted metal, scorched earth, and heavy smoke. Multiple people were killed. Dozens more were injured or missing. Authorities quickly declared the site a crime scene and handed control to federal investigators. First crews described a landscape of devastation. Vehicles burned, structural steel collapsed, and scattered debris stretching for hundreds of yards. Rescue teams faced ongoing hazards: unexploded ordnance, unstable structures, and the risk of secondary blasts. Hazmat units moved cautiously. Forensic teams could not enter freely until safety sweeps were completed, and explosive specialists rendered the area stable. The facility specialized in energetic materials, compounds and devices used in industrial blasting, demolition, and sometimes military applications. Staff included production technicians, engineers, maintenance workers, and contract personnel. The plant stored raw components, finished charges, and test stocks, a combination that, if mismanaged, can become a deadly mix. Local fire and law enforcement coordinated with state emergency management. Federal agencies, including the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives and the FBI, took over the criminal and technical inquiry. Investigators secured records, seized equipment, and interviewed survivors and witnesses. The company ordered an internal halt to operations at other sites and pledged cooperation with authorities. Families were left without answers and loved ones. Identification became difficult because of the intensity of the blast. DNA testing and dental records were required. Hospitals treated survivors with severe burns, shrapnel injuries, and trauma. Local schools and businesses closed as the community absorbed the shock and prepared for funerals and investigations. Investigators follow patterns. They look first for mechanical failure, damaged mixers, faulty wiring, overheated equipment, or a ruptured storage vessel. Human error is next: improper handling, missed stop work signs, inadequate training, or violations of established procedures. Another vector is process deviation: unauthorized blending of incompatible materials, improper solvents, or failure to control static and ignition sources. Investigators also examine maintenance logs, safety audits, and incident reports to see if the blast was preventable. Facilities that deal with explosives operate under strict rules: permits, storage limits, training mandates, and site inspections. Regulators require documented safety systems, grounding and bonding, exclusion zones, approved containers, regular equipment maintenance, and emergency response plans. If investigators find lapses, incomplete training records, overdue inspections, or ignored safety warnings, legal accountability will follow, and criminal charges could be filed. Teams photographed the site, collected samples, and reconstructed the sequence of events using blast pattern analysis. They are reviewing electronic logs, CCTV footage, maintenance histories, and procurement records. Forensic chemists test residues to determine the explosive composition. Witness interviews aim to establish the timeline: who was in the plant, what operations were underway, and whether any alarms or anomalies were logged before the blast. A key part of any probe is context. Investigators examine the company's safety track record, prior incidents, near misses, citations, and corrective actions. Patterns of repeat violations or deferred maintenance point to systemic failure. Complaints from employees or contractors often surface during investigations, revealing cultural problems, production pressure, cost-cutting, and shortcuts that undermine safety. If investigators uncover gross negligence, knowingly ignoring hazards, falsifying safety records, or willfully violating permits, prosecutors may pursue criminal charges against managers or the company. Civil litigation is likely: wrongful death suits, injury claims, and class actions by residents and businesses affected by the blast. Regulators can impose heavy fines and revoke permits, effectively shuttering operations. Beyond legal outcomes, the explosion will reshape the community. Families suffer loss, livelihoods are disrupted, local economies face long-term harm. Community trust in industry and regulators will erode unless authorities act transparently and responsibly. Public hearings, corrective reforms, and meaningful compensation become central to recovery. Prevention requires more than inspections after the fact. It requires enforceable safety culture, routine, documented training, empowered safety officers, independent audits, and whistleblower protections. Regulators must be adequately funded and staffed to perform meaningful oversight. Companies must resist production pressure that compromises safety. Emergency planning and community notification systems must be robust and tested regularly. This explosion is a reminder. Industries that handle volatile materials carry inherent risks that demand constant vigilance. Technology, process controls, and regulations reduce risk, but only where they are implemented and enforced without exception. When shortcuts replace standards, the result is not a single failed process. It is human tragedy. Investigations will take time. Forensic tests, witness corroboration, and legal review will determine cause and culpability. But one truth is immediate. Lives were lost because a system meant to control danger failed to do so. Families deserve answers. The community deserves accountability. And the industry must learn the hard lessons, now and forever.